Well, I'm so glad you could join us. Amanda Weldon filling in for Michelle Mackey. We have a lot to talk about, especially about those fires still burning in through BC. One thing's for sure, you don't want to be the reason one starts. Chrissy Van reports. Thanks so much, Chrissy. Well, naturally it's summer, right? So we're expecting that heat to build in. Well, sometimes it lasts a little longer than we want. We have Deb Medichka talking about heat warnings. Well, there's one thing's for sure. We are going to have our eyes to the skies, especially tomorrow. Check this out. Yeah, it makes those hazy kind of days. Well, you know what? We do have a change, and it is on its way. Amanda Weldon along with you. Let's talk about it. There's going to be a southwesterly flow, has already started today, and will continue into your weekend. That's going to help move out that smoke on the coast, and we have that trough all the way through the prairies, bringing some temperatures down a little bit and some action in Ontario. Let's talk about the storm potential for Friday up to the north. That's where we're seeing a good potential because there is moisture, there's lift, and there is even a trigger that could take place with energy in the atmosphere. And then on the Rockies, on the lee side particularly, we are seeing that dry lightning possibility. Tough for the Kootenays because it is so dry. That could be another spark up potential for those fires, right? Well, let's take a look at how that change is happening. This is for Friday, and this is good. Low pressure is moving in because our ridge is breaking down, moving towards the prairies. This will bring high temperatures for the Northwest Territories. Places like Yellowknife could get into the 30s. But with that trough moving in, we're going to see some rain on the coast. And wow, what a relief. Since June 18th, I believe it was, Victoria has not seen a drop of rain. And even for Vancouver, since July 22nd, we saw like a millimeter of rain. That's not a lot measurable wise. Anything to help fires anyways. Isolated severe up to the north in through your Thursday for Alberta, and we are seeing to the south as well that energy that we were talking about just a bit ago. Now, I know you see this, which we didn't talk about in through BC for Thursday. Not a lot of moisture to the south for BC. So those three elements, trigger, moisture, lift, that moisture is not there, so we might not see those storms. But isolated severe up towards Cold Lake and north of Edmonton could get some of that hail potential for sure, and that storm energy is there too. So as long as we could get that moisture, it'll all work. These are our feels like temperatures for Friday. Still, those temperatures will be pumped up because that ridge sliding over, that's going to bring those temperatures up. Medicine Hat feeling like 28 degrees. Now, Ontario also has, I'm going to take us back there for a second. Ontario also has that feels like in place. We'll talk about that when we come back. For now, let's go to Lunenburg with Nate Coleman because he has this report for us. Stay with us. Well, the summer heat definitely isn't for everybody. And sometimes people have their hands on that AC pumping it up. But we have Deb Medichka talking to us about energy and some records. Thanks so much, Deb. Now this one, you might want to look away if you're a little bit squeamish because these little guys, the budworms, have been showing up on radar. Nathan Coleman explains. Oh, Nate always has the best stories, doesn't he? Well, on the west coast, we are seeing that low pressure finally moving in. We're going to get some rain in through BC. That ridge in place over BC right now is keeping us nice and dry. We're going to see some active weather in through Ontario and the Maritimes this weekend. Stunning and so jealous. I actually did get outside and enjoy the sun here in Ontario too. Amanda Weldon along with you. Low pressure moving in for the west. That means rain. A ridge in the prairies. Those temperatures will start to pump up in this trough, and you see that warm front, cold front. That means a boundary, some active weather. Let's take you to the Atlantic and talk about those temperatures though, because we do have a southwesterly flow in place, and moisture from the Atlantic means humidex potential for sure there. Halifax for your Friday feeling like 32, and for Gander 26. Now this is well above seasonal. Usually for St. John's we have 21 degrees feeling like 27. For Yarmouth 26. Not too shabby at all if you do like the warm temperatures, of course. Similar story for Ontario that we are seeing those temperatures warm. For Toronto 32. That heat is adding into the potential for thunderstorms for sure, and that trigger for sure there. And we are seeing the greatest possibility for strong storms in through Grey County, Dufferin, all the way up to Parry Sound here, and all around there tomorrow. We could see some gusty winds, some small hail, and even the potential for an isolated tornado in those areas. We did see some through Huntsville on August 4th, that's for sure. Look, this warm front and cold front mixing together, that's the boundary that's creating that potential for these storms to really spark up. And as that low pressure moves in, more instability, more moisture. Similar story in the prairies, except for the moisture part. We do have some small hail and heavy rainfall possible for your Thursday for these areas, but there's not a ton of moisture in through the prairies. Now, if you are getting outside and enjoying a patio, do you ever have to swat away wasps? I'm one of those people who just sits there and does not move. Well, Deb Mediachka has a few more tips than that. So glad you could join us. Amanda Weldon along with you. Now, we always talk about big storms here at the Weather Network, but this one is very big and comes in the form of a red spot. Michelle Mackey explains. There's no doubt that great white sharks are elusive creatures, and it's always exciting when you see not only one, but two off the coast of Nova Scotia, usually found in the Bay of Fundy, but this was definitely an exciting story. Tom Murphy explains. That's one of those things there never has been, but I definitely don't want to be the next one. Let's talk about your weekend coming up into your Friday, seeing some rain for those shores, but again, the main activity and the main event in Ontario. Now, your local forecast. Well, such a fun activity. I wish I could have gone out and seen them. Amanda Weldon along with you. And our weather story continues. Let's take it to the east because we started in Lunenburg. Might as well talk about it. This cold front will continue to slink down through the rest of our week. Going to see some showers possible in through Nova Scotia on Saturday. But it's going to be a New Brunswick story by the beginning of this week. And see that warm front, cold front coming together. That means a boundary. That means the potential for some storms for sure. Let's take a look at those temps because we are above seasonal. Usually this time of year for St. John's, 21 is the norm. 23 feels like 27, not too bad for a Friday. Halifax 32, kind of sticky though. That humidex definitely in place. Similar story for Ontario. And finally, summer-like heat in place. Am I right? For Toronto 32, that's what it's going to feel like. Sudbury 27, but up in Kapuskasing, cold front coming down feels like 16 degrees. This is one of the elements in play for these storms that we could see in through Friday. Isolated severe around the Grey County area, Dufferin, all the way up to Parry Sound, that we could see isolated severe storms, and even an isolated tornado is possible. Depends on how all the ingredients pan out though. Especially because we have a lot of cloud cover, it could inhibit some of these storms. An upper trough is definitely lingering around, and that's why over the next couple of days you're going to see in your local forecast coming up in just a little bit that you're going to have rain in through the next 7 days. But it's because of this upper trough causing some of that instability throughout the beginning of your weekend. Let's take a look at the prairies because the heat's definitely there as well. A ridge sliding over from the west coast will pump up those temperatures for the prairies. Even Yellowknife is going to get into some high 20s, even could be 30s. Medicine Hat feeling like 28, Lethbridge 27, but you do notice this is different from the other ones because there's no humidex really in place. Cold front continues to slink down, and that's going to bring that potential. Talking about BC really quickly, here are your temps, but you don't want to be the reason why a wildfire starts, that's for sure. Chrissy Van has a little bit more on that report.